Yeah, I don't even want to. Let's not even get into. You know what? No. Let's get into that. Okay, so this past week, okay, Christmas Eve absolutely ruined for me. Okay, just like how your Christmas was ruined for you. Miami proves it can win the grinded out games against teams and beat a team with a winning record finally. But there's still massive questions about the Dallas Cowboys. I want to talk about Miami. I don't want to all focus it on Dallas, but since I am a Dallas fan, I am going to go ahead and focus in on them so deeply. I hate Terrence Steele. He is my least favorite player on this planet right now. Okay, I had much stronger words on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday for that man. Every single time I'm looking at a play developing, Terrence Steele, our right tackle, starting right tackle that we just paid this offseason, coming off of injury. Why did we do that? I have no idea. That's a great question. Let's go ahead and put a pin in it for now. He's in the backfield every single time. Every single time he's getting bullied. And then we have our starting left tackle is out because he's ancient and he's old and he's injured constantly, Tyron Smith. So then we have Chuma Edoga, okay, our backup left tackle. For some reason, what do you do as a tackle? Okay, immediately you want to go ahead and kick out that left leg and you're going to go and look at the guy on the edge. For some reason, he steps forward and he wants to block the defensive tackle every single time. So what happens? Bradley Chubb goes ahead and he rushes off the edge and he free reign to Dak Prescott. It felt like every other drive, Bradley Chubb had free reign to Dak for no reason at all. And then because our offensive line can't block at all, now we're running these curl routes. I felt like Kellen Moore was calling our plays. I'm like, why are we running curl routes over and over and over and over and over and over again? Well, it's because we can only run short routes to actually get any type of passes off. So Dak had no time. I'm not putting this on Dak. Okay. I did initially, and then I rewatched the game. I had some initial kind of
text
feelings, and then I rewatched it. I looked at it from a different position. This isn't Dak's fault. He didn't have a horrible game. He just had no time, and I wasn't a fan of the play calling. You brought up how we should be putting a running back or a tight end or something there on the right hand side to actually give Terrence Steele some help to chip off that edge rusher. But then on the defensive side of the ball, we played great. Fantastic. Defense held them to 22 points. Played great, except for that final drive. We could not stop them. That's where it mattered, and that's all that people are going to remember. Defense didn't fail us. They played great the entire game. It was kind of opposite. Defense played great the entire game until the final drive, and then offense played horrible the entire game except the final drive. I'm getting real sick and tired of this team, I'm going to be honest with you. It's so frustrating to believe in a team that can't beat winning teams. Okay, this was a big week. I said that we'd beat Miami, and I thought we would. It's incredibly disappointing. Miami's a really good team, and I'm not going to discredit them. We held Tyreek Hill decently. He still had 100 yards, obviously, but I thought we played him pretty well. I'm just disappointed over and over and over again when we come up on these big games, these big weeks, especially in this stretch that is so important for us. And we played well, right? We have Philly, bam, beat them, right? We have Buffalo, tough game. We lost. I said we lose, obviously. So I wasn't really that disappointed. And then we have Miami, and I thought we could win that game. I genuinely thought we can win that game, and then we lose it. And then now we're going to have Detroit coming up. I think we can win that game. I think we can, but it doesn't help my confidence when we lose a game against Miami like that. Okay, that's a tough, grinded out type of game, and that should be something that's in our wheelhouse, right? We should have the type of players and personnel to win those type of games to grind it out. But when Tony Pollard decides to cut into the end zone instead of running to the pylon, it makes me question my entire existence. What are you doing? And then when we're handing off to our fullback for the third time in that drive, we're doing a fullback dive and he fumbles. And then when he doesn't even get the ball. Bam, he gets it right here. And it drops out of his hands and he keeps running like he didn't even see what happened. Bro, you know you don't have the ball. Get your big ass back there and go grab the ball. What are we doing? These type of plays and this type of personnel, like we should win these. And it doesn't give me confidence. All it does is frustrate me. All it does is kill my confidence going into the playoffs. What are we going to lose against Detroit and then we're going to win against the Commanders and all of a sudden we're great and we're going to keep going and we're going to go to the NFC Conference Championship game. No, we're not. There's not going to be none of that this year. Not the way we're playing. If we can't give Dak time, If Tony Pollard's going to be an idiot, if we're going to hand off to the fullback for 3 times in one drive, we're not going anywhere except the divisional. It's going to be the same things last year. I'm going to text Drew, and when we lose in the divisional, I'm going to text him and say, divisional poverty franchise. Again, and again, and again, and again. And I don't want any of you Cowboys fans, and you are the delusional ones. Don't you come at me and say, oh, well, don't make excuses. We're playing horrible. Look at who we've beat. It's not that impressive. I want to believe in the team. I want to say that we're contenders. I want to. I really do. Because we have everything in place to do it. But it still doesn't happen. And that's what's frustrating. I'm on with my rant.
I think that there's a couple things. There's a lot to unpack there. I'm not going to unpack it all. I'm trying to be a unbiased podcaster, commentator here, and not just dance on the Cowboys' grave every week when they lose. Mike McCarthy. There's some coaches out there that have his number, have had his number for many years, even going back to when he was in Green Bay. One of those happens to be my head coach, and the head coach from the Dolphins is the savant of my head coach. Mike McDaniel sat at the Shanahan tree and learned everything he knew, and he's improved upon it. The Dolphins are the only team in the league that run more motion than the 49ers do. When you hold that offense to 22 points, 21 points, 23 points, you have to expect to win that game. And my question marks for the team were, you go down the field and you're targeting CeeDee Lamb on every single play, and then he disappears for the rest of the entire game until the fourth quarter when you got to go back down the field and score again. And Mike McCarthy is a big believer in this. I'm going to throw it short. I'm going to run the ball. I'm going to keep my defense off the field. And I think that by keeping your defensive off the field, you limited them to the points, but you can't just like be explosive in the first quarter on the first drive and then go into this shell offense for 3 quarters and then be like, oh, you know what? We're going to break out. And I texted you guys after you scored. I said, it's not surprising that you went down there and scored. You ran your first quarter offense. It looked really good. Can you stop them? And to be honest with you, a big mistake on the face mask penalty. You give them a free 15 yards when all they need is a field goal. And to be honest with you, I love the Cowboys defense. I love the 49ers defense. But when I'll take Tyreek Hill on one play, when you can target a player 1 or 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, and any given play can go for 50 or 60 yards because he's that fast. We all saw it coming a million miles away. I texted you and said, "Can you stop him?" And you said, "I don't know." So Dak was running for his life. I don't really blame him. I blame the play calling a lot. Just like I'm going to have some thoughts on the play calling and scheming from my game that we ran. But it's just one of those things. The Dolphins are a good team. And if you lose to a good team, you didn't get blown out by a good team. This wasn't the 49ers Cowboys. It wasn't the Bills Cowboys. You went in there. And to be honest with you, Miami's a warm weather team. The Cowboys are a warm weather team. It was just one of those things. And if you guys play them 10 more times, I think that's a good team, man. I think the Dolphins are a good team. I know you wanted the win, but I don't look at it as a massive loss. I think the Buffalo Bills loss was a little more, embarrassing than, and the thing is the Eagles have 2 games against the Giants, and one game who else do they play? Another poverty team. Maybe it's the Commanders they play. The Eagles are going to win all 3 of those games. You can't tell me that the Cowboys didn't know, the players didn't know, this game doesn't matter. And maybe the scheming reflected that. Maybe the play calling reflected that. I think there was a little of that going on in my game. The offense looked a little uninspired, and maybe there was a thought process to, hey, this game doesn't matter that much, and maybe we don't show all our cards. I think if we played Miami next week, we may not show all our cards. Those are Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, the Ravens. Those are all teams that you might see in the Super Bowl, Cowboys or 49ers, if they get there. And maybe it's a good thing that you didn't show everything you got. I do agree with the fullback runs and the Tony Pollard stuff. His production has dropped tremendously, losing Zeke, and I was clamoring for it for 3 straight years. Give Pollard the ball. Zeke is roasted. Give Pollard the ball. You definitely, if you can add one thing to that team next year, I think you need another running back that's dangerous. I know you have the young, speedy gadget guys, but the play calling was a little. It definitely looked like the Cowboys had no interest in getting Miami Dolphin team back on the field by scoring quickly. So
yeah, you know how frustrating it is to as a Cowboys fan and as a big Zeke fan, I love Zeke, right? Um, to watch Tony Pollard do what he did, right? He, instead of going to the pylon, he tries to cut in for some reason. Um, and then watch Zeke hurdle over somebody to get to the end zone. You know how frustrating that is in that same day to watch that? You know how frustrating it is? Be like, bro, that's my dog. I want to see him succeed. Absolutely. But I want him to succeed on our team, right? Those short goal line situations is something that we like very sorely miss. And I think that's what the fullback was supposed to be doing, is supposed to kind of substitute that in, because our backup, and you would think, oh, 1-2 punch, your backup might be that dude, right? He might be that power back. He's not. It's Rico Dowdle. He's another speedy, young, shifty back, and that's all he is. Very much kind of Tony Pollard-esque. Don't be surprised if Tony Pollard is not here next year, because we don't want to pay him too much money when we have his replacement in the backfield, especially if we can go out and we can just go draft another guy, because that's what running backs are nowadays. We don't go, you shouldn't be going out and signing running backs. Uh, all it should be is you draft a back, you give him a couple years, you give him a small contract, and you let him walk out the door after that. Draft another one a couple years later and just restart the process. That's just kind of where the league is at, right? We're not in the 90s anymore, the 80s or the 70s, where the running backs are the cream of the crop, right? I mean, we have what, 3 running backs over 1,000 yards this year, while we have over 20 guys with over 1,000 receiving yards. Running backs just aren't it anymore. So don't be
Well,
surprised if you don't see Tony Pollard next year.
and production aside, even if he had came out and lit the league on fire this year, with your guys' salary cap and how it's shaping up, I don't know if you could have paid the guy anyway.
Yeah,
But at the same time, the one thing I will say is you let a really good tight end go in the offseason last year, and his backup has stepped up in a big way this year. So you can't get frustrated at them for the decisions they make that don't work out, while not applauding them for the decisions that they you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
absolutely. Yeah,
Jake Ferguson is a beast,
I
and he's
love
going to
Ferg.
be a beast
Yeah,
for
bro.
many years to come. And Schultz is a good running back or tight end. He was a good player. You let him go, and
Mhm.
it was fine. Maybe it didn't work out perfectly with Tony Pollard this year, but I agree with you. We don't need to go. We don't need to draft Bijan Robinson in the top 10 and then get pissed all year when he doesn't do anything. We don't need to go this year and get Blake Corum from Michigan. There's guys all over the place, especially when you have an
Yeah,
offense that's. You guys need a big upgrade at the number 3 wide receiver spot, because Brandon Cooks has come on really well. Michael Gallup is a trash can to me. I don't know why you guys ever gave him any money coming off an injury, but if you can get a legit.
Well, hold on. And then let's not forget that we chose Michael Gallup over Amari Cooper. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mari's a beast. He made a lot of money though.
Yeah,
Um, you got to get a big bodied third down. The Niners
yeah,
have Jawan Jennings. You got to get that go to third guy, because Gallup is he's a waste out there. So you don't
yeah,
need, when you have Ferguson, when you have CD, when you have Brandon Cooks, and I don't know what his contract situation is, but it looks like a player you want to bring back. I mean, Jerry Jones is a Looney Tune. He's a crazy guy. So if I woke up on week 1 of next season and we hopped on this podcast after a Cowboys win and you were wearing a number 13 Mike Evans Cowboys jersey, I really wouldn't be that surprised. So when you have offensive weapons like that, the running back, while important, we don't need to spend 20 million, 18 million, 15 million, 12 million a year on Tony Pollard. You can find somebody in the draft, just like you were saying.
absolutely. And then turning it to Miami again, winning the grinded out games. I think we think of Miami as big play, highly explosive, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon A. Chain, Raheem Mostert, and then Tua to sling the rock. I think we're thinking of a highly speedy, a highly explosive offense, and that's exactly what they are. But in this game, they played the grinded out game. Slow, methodical. Sometimes the drives don't work out. Sometimes the drives aren't one play, 90-yard bombs to Tyreek or Jalen. But it was still there. They were within their own 10-5, and we thought we were going to get them. I think it was third down, and then they throw a bomb to Jalen Waddle, and it gets them out of trouble and gets them to the 40. So
Yep.
they still have that in them, but if they can prove they can pound the rock, right? Especially shout out Raheem Mostert, over 1,000 yards, over 20 touchdowns, right? Shout out to him, super dope. Um, if they can pound the rock and they can continuously do that, right? Jeff Wilson can be that guy. Devon A. Chain's kind of injury prone right now in his rookie season. Hopefully, he can get a full offseason to heal and recover and be okay. And then if it's me, Raheem Mostert's over 1,000. He has a 20. I'm resting him for the rest of the season until we go into the playoffs. But if they can get those grinded out and still have the explosive plays on the back, it's an incredibly dangerous team.
Yeah, Miami is one of those teams where, they're 11-4, and I think they play the Ravens this week. They sure do.
They
Ravens Dolphins
they
this
do,
week,
yeah,
which is funny because I think we're gonna have a segment here where we're talking about how the Ravens are the best team in the NFL, and oh boy, we'll find out this week if that holds true. I I would want nothing to do with the Dolphins. You can line up every
yeah.
single AFC team. I would play the Ravens 6 more times with
Hmm.
confidence, before I would want anything to do with the Miami Dolphins. That team is, which is funny because I don't love their quarterback situation. I don't
Yeah,
love the Tua situation, but when you put the weapons together and you have an offensive mastermind at the helm, and the playoffs, the physicality ramps up. But we've seen Tyreek Hill perform on the biggest stages, so I don't know.
absolutely.
I think the week before the playoffs we got to do another pretenders contenders, and I think the Miami Dolphins are going to be.
Yep.
We'll see. This Sunday's game against the Ravens that's big time. That's for the